not to give power to people who hold capital, but to make it a little bit more equal. So it's not that one group has power over another group, but trying to equalize that power and distribution.
Wouldn't you think it's also unfair to take from Peter to give to Paul if Paul did less work than Peter?
Lucky Boys Podcast.
So do you think socialism's the answer?
Yes.
How?
I don't have...
Some people would argue against that completely. Yes, socialism.
Okay.
Oh, you're a socialist. You know, it's become taboo to be labeled as such.
I think a lot of Americans, or like in our education system, they just train you to think about socialism and communism in a negative way. But I never really understood what that was until maybe like this year, where I did like a little bit more reading. And the premise is basically not to give power to people who hold capital, but to make it a little bit more equal. So it's not that one group has power over another group, but trying to equalize that power and distribution. So I'm not too sure what the correct or the right way or whatever. That's still like ongoing. And a lot of systems are not totally like 100% socialism or 100% communism, even though they claim they are. I would say like China is more authoritarian like government, and that's a little bit different. And they're not totally communism or like in that state, even though they claim to do so.
Wouldn't you think it's also unfair to take from Peter to give to Paul if Paul did less work than Peter?
I think, but how do you define
just to
work?
Even out the playing field? For example, let's just say Jeff Bezos.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. Take out personal feelings, right? I'm just using an example. Jeff Bezos or Elon. All right, let's do Elon Musk, because we were just talking about Teslas before. Elon Musk and me get paid. The variance between our income is very small. A lot of people would argue that it's absolutely ridiculous that Elon and I make the same income, because he produces jobs for several thousands of people around the globe, whereas me, maybe I have that impact on a handful of people. Why should we get paid the same when his contribution to society is so much more expansive and important than, let's just say, me doing a podcast, right? Why should I get paid the same wage or equal wage or close to someone like him?
I think the idea here is that we attribute that he is being more productive to our society or contributing more, therefore he should be paid more. But if you actually look at it, all the things that are being produced.
Norm, you want to fix the lighting? Megatron ran into it, one of the legs, and made it. Thanks, Megatron. That's if you guys are listening, that was my cute little Shih Tzu. Kind of walked into the lighting. Anyway, what are you saying?
Yeah, so I think the way that we attribute productivity or value is based on like, oh, this person gives the opportunity for X number of people to like make more money. But if you take away certain key workers, the whole entire thing would not work. If everyone took a strike, right, for the workers, would anything be produced? Not really. But
should they earn the same wage?
I think, well, in my opinion, I think people who are the workers should be entitled to the wage that their employers are taking away from them. So like if everyone who is getting paid for a wage, their workers are taking a cut of the revenue that you are producing for them.
So having equity in the business, is that what you're trying to say? Or is it more of a bigger cut of the revenue that the company's generating?
I think it should be equal. Not that, oh, you get a little bit more now, or the piece of the pie. So it's kind of like people who are at the top, they held like 75% of like the pie, and they divvy up the remaining 25% to their workers. But why do we accept that, and why do we think that's okay? Why don't we flip it on its head and like have the people at top, let's say, get 25%, and everything else is 75% is distributed amongst the workers? I feel like if you consider that as an option, then that kind of flips the power wealth dynamic a little bit more.
So you would be okay if you if you had an idea, everyone was against. Right? They're saying you're crazy. You were on the borderline of a genius idea where people think you're descending into madness. And you quit your job. You take all of the risks, the sacrifices, no sleep, being almost outcasted by society or people within your circle, all alone. And you're putting in all these hours. You're putting in all that effort. And it starts blossoming into something. People are subscribing to your idea. People are getting excited about it. There's marketing, there's buzz. People love what you're doing. It's great for the environment, etc. It's improving people's lives. It's making it easier on everyone. And now your company's growing to a point where you need people to work for the company. And you meet someone like me and Norm. Mm-hmm. And we're just some guys looking for a job. We don't really care about making society better or whatever. Our intentions is that we just need a survival gig. We happen to stumble upon you. We nail our interview. We get hired. You think that we should each receive a third of the pie?
I would say if you are actually passionate about the mission and I hire this person, I actually thought about this question if I started my own company, how I would distribute everything. And I would want to test out this theory of giving everyone a equal portion of the pie. If I think their value is contributing to the larger mission, then I would entertain that thought. And I think a lot of people feel like they're trapped in this like 9-to-5 or like this corporate environment because they don't necessarily believe in the mission. But if I hire people who do believe in the mission and they work just as hard as I do and they really provide their value to the larger mission, not just they care about getting money or XYZ, then I would be comfortable sharing it. Because it's kind of like a founder and you have a co-founder 50-50, right? So if you hire another person, they contribute just as much, you should get 1/3 of the pie.
Interesting. So there isn't a part of you that goes, I deserve more because I took on the risk. It was my idea. I was the catalyst for this. And right now, I did all the heavy lifting and you two are just spotting. But we should all get equal pay. You like, there isn't a psychological or emotional part of you that go, hell no, I did way more. I took the risk. You wasn't with me when I was struggling, those sleepless nights. You just walked into this interview and I just need some extra hands. I should give you the same equity. Isn't there a part of you that'll go, get the fuck out of here?
A little bit, but I think if I want to change society or do something radical, then I am willing to accept that. So I think for me, I am in a privileged space where I say like money isn't super important to me. But I think if I have enough to feed myself, clothe myself, have a shelter and things like that, what other things do I want out of life? Like, what am I going to do with all this money? There are people who don't have a home, people who don't have food to eat. And like, I don't need this much money. I don't care about luxury brands or like things like that. That to me is trivial. So if I can give this to other people or create more opportunities for people to also have this sense of like, okay, I am not bound to an employer or bound to any system and I can freely choose to work or not to work or to buy this or not to buy this. And that I am willing to give up for the greater like good of society.
But the people at that stage, they're not worried about these billionaires or these people in power. They're not worried about buying luxury brands. I think their concern is the power, mm-hmm. right? And I think that's the key thing. I don't think people will want to share the power, especially to someone who hasn't put in the work. And I can understand it in that sense. If I were to start a company and I took all the risks and I did all the heavy lifting, I risked I made sacrifices with my family, mm-hmm. my friend, time equity. And then also I put in my own money and I almost went bankrupt for it. And I continue to pursue this dream because I just believed in it so much. And now other people are coming in and you have to tell me that these people that just came on board, which has much easier, although they do play a pivotal role, I'm supposed to split equity equally to everyone that's under this roof. That to me sounds unfair. Right?
Unfair to the person holding the chips, though.
I would be totally upset about that. Not even from the outside looking in. I would go, let's say I was one of the guys that get equal. I didn't have to take any of those risks. I just walked into something that was awesome, like an awesome company, and I just nailed the interview, and I'm gaming the system now. I'm going to go, what's my incentives to create and do whatever? I just want to be lazy. Mm-hmm. You know what? This dude opening, like, I'm just going to ride your, what's that called? Be part of your entourage. I'm just going to be part of your entourage. You do.
Ride the coattails?
You do all the acting. You do all the rapping. You be a Hollywood star. And I'm just going to be your boy. And I'm going to be part of your entourage, and you pay me to be part of your entourage.
But I think the key difference here is they're not necessarily providing value, so I wouldn't want to work with someone like that.
But how would you know if they're gaming you? Because once you sign a contract, right, and where on paper it says that you have equal equity, where's my incentive anymore to go, haha, gotcha? Where's my drive anymore? It's gone, because I'm, in a sense, unionized. You can't fire me. I own this company as much as you.
Oh, okay.
You're not my boss.
The big difference is power is not necessarily the same as like the paycheck that you're giving someone. So I wouldn't necessarily be like, okay, like there's 5 people in this company. We're all going to make equal decisions and like, ooh, democracy. I feel like since I did start this, I would still hold some of the power and decision making, like action items. But I would want to pay people the same amount.
Okay.
It's like the control of the company, more like the share of the wealth.
So you maintain the company's equity. You're the largest shareholder, right? So you maintain overall decision making. That's fine. Now you just talk about salary. Everyone gets paid $100,000 a year. Let's just use whole figures, right? Everyone gets paid $100,000. So you're telling me that this person who doesn't have a degree, not even a high school degree, and just very low education, but they nailed the interview and can do a customer service job or something extremely entry level, data entry or whatever, right? Versus this person that has a much more complex role within the company, where if something happens, we need this guy. Or this woman to really handle these issues, because that's the expert. And then this person that has a CPA that studied and invested so much in their education just so that they could keep your books in order, that person gets $100,000 too. What's to incent? If we had a corporate system or a nationwide system like that, what's driving me to do something as boring and mundane as an accountant when I could just do data entry or the easiest job I could possibly find, because it doesn't matter. I'm going to get paid the same anyway.
To answer your first question.
And what's the point of receiving a good education anymore for that matter?
I would challenge the way that we consider a career or job, that you're a specialized, siloed compartment of like, okay, now you're just doing customer service and you're doing this, but I would want to work in a place where everyone is doing a little bit of everything. So you're not just like this very skilled worker and that's all you're going to do. Like you're going to clean the toilets too. And like, we're all going to be equal contributors to everything.
Right.
So we would technically get paid the same amount because the value that you're contributing is equal. And then to get back to the larger ideology of like capitalism versus like everything else, the key distinction I want to make is that right now we're all workers unless we can work, or we can not do anything and still be able to feed ourselves. And I think there's something wrong with that ideology where a person who just has a trust fund, right? They're not producing anything. They're not doing anything valuable. Isn't there something off about them not doing anything?